So what next? You know you've got a bunch of ideas here that you will want to come back to at some point. That's in the sketchbook bookmarked column here with all the yellow labels, and indeed some other labels here as well, which as I say, I'll talk about those in a moment. I won't go into a huge level of explanation as to how Mike Monday's automatic music machine process guides you in taking ideas out of sketchbook status and on into the rest of the creative process. But what I will do is just quickly explain what the other stages of the process are. And again, you know, credit where credit's due. This is Mike Monday's idea. If this makes sense to you, definitely check out Mike Monday. I can't remember, Make Music Your Life, I think it's called, makemusicyourlife.com. Certainly any web search will pull up Mike Monday and his various courses that he's got. But I mean, if this makes sense to you, or it sounds like a good way of navigating your own sort of creative output and helping you get to the end of finishing stuff, then I couldn't recommend it more. So you have decided, however you have decided it, to take one or two ideas out of your sketchbook bookmarked column here. What happens next? Well, there are several other stages, so we can move across now over to the right hand side. There are several other stages that you take an idea to develop it into something, you know, much more finished. And the way that Mike has differentiated these different stages is to call them discover, draft, and done, and then release, and then ultimately, obviously, released. So what do these columns mean? Well, again, in briefest summary, and this is my way of interpreting the guidance of the sort of basic structure that Mike Monday provides. My way of interpreting this is that discover is just the next stage on an idea that you like at any given time. So you might like it today, you might work on it a little bit more and discover, and then a week later listen back to it and think that's rubbish. Doesn't matter. You just drag the card and the project file back in to Sketchbook, so you never lose anything. You're constantly moving forward, which is really exciting. But if you've got a couple in Discover, what does Discover actually mean? Well, again, without going into massive detail, what it generally means is that you'll have one musical idea, which will be a kind of A section or maybe a B section or something. But the idea is to build something around that complements it, so that the final idea will have two distinct elements to it, like either an A section or a B section, or if it's something a bit more minimal, just distinct arrangements that make maybe one single idea really work over a bit more time. A really brilliant way of expanding and exploring a track from a very, very basic idea is this concept of using opposites. So you listen to the idea once and you jot down what that idea is kind of making you think of, mood, etc. And then you write down literally what the opposites of those things are in words, and then you can do a session on that idea. And in that session, maybe again, when I do my sort of discover sessions, I tend to only have either the bass line playing or the lead line, or maybe the pads if it's got some chords and stuff in the middle of it, or if it's kind of based around some chords, just so I've got a rough idea. But I'll only listen to that one part once at the beginning of the session. Then I will look to the rest of the project in a completely different light, and I will almost write like another like writing session, bouncing off the original idea. Now, in some cases, it's funny, you can spend ages on doing that process, but all you come out with is maybe one bar that you end up using that just is maybe a little turnaround that takes you back to the original idea. Other times, the second exploration idea becomes the main idea, and the first idea becomes the B section, or the kind of contrast. So that I found really, really helpful in terms of kind of developing an idea, and again getting out of that 8-bar loop rut and actually really exploring and exploding your musical horizons just by using your imagination. So that is another mega tip, is, you know, think about the opposite of what the idea is and then write a part that reflects that opposite. It's not that hard. You can slow the tempo down, speed it up, change from major to minor. You can completely change the key, obviously, use completely different sounds, different voices, different parts, different instruments, you know, you name it. There's any number of different things you can do, but it works magic, actually, and you can really turn a basic idea into something that's got a lot more life, just by building an extra part into it. So that's the discover section. We'll come on to the draft in just a moment.